All right, guys. I wanted to hop on here and talk about a new business model I'm working on. I'm not reinventing the wheel. I don't have a course to sell you. But with that said, I think that this model is very innovative in comparison to a lot of things that people are selling through e-com, coaching, whatever the case is. Um, we are going to call it concierge merchandising. What is concierge merchandising? So, concierge merchandising is creating custom apparel for artists, creators, anyone with a personal brand, any business with a brand. But we're primarily targeting personal brands. And why is that? Okay, with a personal brand, you're probably working with people who want something more than a black Hanes t-shirt with the screen printed design that they can get on custom ink. Custom ink is great, but custom ink is great for businesses who want shirts for a company picnic. But there are very few brands who are making tailored items that are to the spec of whatever lands in someone's imagination. So, how do we capitalize on this in the first place? How do we create the ability to actually create custom apparel for someone with a personal brand without losing money on it? Okay. Number one, find yourself a manufacturer. We're going to do that through Alibaba. Um, you can do China, you can do Pakistan. Um, I have worked with manufacturers in Pakistan. Call me crazy, but I've had great experiences with them. But you do have to be careful because um, when you're working on Alibaba with manufacturers in China, you have trade assurance, but you don't have it with a manufacturer in Pakistan. But why do I still recommend a manufacturer in Pakistan? Customer service. For those who are familiar with how manufacturing works in China for smaller brands, China is a massive manufacturing country, the biggest in the world. And so what that means is when you're a brand who's printing 50 units, 150 units, you're going to be pushed at the very back of the assembly line. They're going to produce all your products in one day at the very end of the lead time and then ship it on a boat. And you're going to be waiting 30 to 45 days between shipping lead time. And that's probably at a minimum, honestly. With my experience working with manufacturers in Pakistan, they're hungry for work, which means you get very great customer service. I have received top-notch quality, um, and with that, you're able to provide better lead times and better customer service to your customers. Okay, so hypothetically, we just found our manufacturer and we're going to build our brand. We're going to start on Instagram, maybe post a few videos that where we maybe gathered images or videos through places like Unsplash. Well, how are we going to gain clients? A, we're going to start making content, and you can just do it with your face in a video. But most importantly, cold outreach. So, let's say our business, we are targeting artists. We're going to go to Spotify, Apple Music, whatever it is. You're going to find artists between the range of 50,000 to 200,000 monthly listeners. That is our sweet spot as a small concierge merchandising business. Why? Because you have to think about conversions. If you have 50,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, that doesn't mean you inherently have 50,000 Instagram followers. You see artists with even 200,000 follower or 200,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, and they will still have maybe 2 or 3 thousand followers on Instagram, which is completely fine because that can be a totally dedicated fan base. And then you'll also see artists who have 50,000 monthly listeners on Spotify and a decent amount of followers, but they have nurtured and trained their audience to buy physicals when they release, which is great. So anything in that range, because they're not famous yet and they can sell a product. You don't need to be selling 10 or 20 t-shirts because you're going to lose money on that every day of the week. So we want to keep our MOQ around 40 to 50 units. And I've learned that in that sweet spot, you can still provide a great product, great pricing, and I mean, you're not going to make a lot of money off that because you're making $7 to $10 a shirt. But I mean, you're still going to be able to make money, and in terms of profit, it's decent. And your cost is going to continue to come down the more you produce. So that's something to think about. All right, so we have come to the conclusion that we need artists with 50,000 to 200,000 monthly listeners, and our idea is to have an MOQ of around 40 units. How are we going to target them? Cold DM. Cold DM is absolutely how you need to do it. Um, and it's a numbers game. So if you on a Monday morning decide you want to send 20 DMs and you're thinking you're going to make a sale because you just sent a lot of DMs, that's not how it works. On a good day, you're going to get maybe 4 to 6 responses for every 100 DMs you send. And I don't think you should get discouraged by that either. I think you should be encouraged because you know that you are going to get 4 to 6 responses, regardless of your environment, 4 to 6 responses for every 100 DMs sent. And your goal is to get them on a call. Why is it important to get them on a call as opposed to just texting it out? Because you are going to have your guidelines set. You're going to be able to figure out what the artist needs. You guys are going to be on a first name basis now, and they are going to be able to understand what your process looks like. And you can be completely transparent. You can tell them that you outsource your work. And for me, I started outsourcing my work because in Arizona, I had not received good customer service. There really aren't many manufacturers for clothing in Arizona, and it's cheaper, and the quality is great. And if you can vocalize that with your client, there should be no discrepancy with that. So let's talk about a funnel. What is our funnel going to look like after we've gone over this? So, cold outreach. Number 1, content. Number 2, advertising. Number 3, advertising should probably be on the bottom of your list. Why? Because who's going to buy a product from someone who's never sold a product? So we're going to start advertising based on our clientele that we've worked with, and our cold outreach is going to be our number 1 priority. Alrighty. I also want to talk about how we're going to make a sale. For this instance, I think it's best to have an LLC or some sort of business. Why? Because these are going to be fairly big transactions. And there's going to be a turnaround time. So, if they're sending money to Joe Schmo, that's not very convincing that what they're doing is legit when they're working with someone who doesn't have any clients to begin with. So if you have a business and they're sending money to someone that has invoiced them, that's going to give them a lot of confidence in the fact that if something goes wrong, they can have their money received or returned, excuse me. Also, website. Your website is going to build legitimacy. Have a decent landing page. If you start a Shopify website, it's probably a week learning curve if you've never done it before. And the second time you do it, it's going to take you 40 minutes to build a website. And there are free apps within Shopify that will allow you to build order forms for people who are inbound leads. So I'll show you what mine looks like. So here's the home screen on my website. It just shows a catalog of the artists I worked with, Planet Asia, Demo. I had actually collabed with these artists. So this is my home screen with my catalog. And then I have also just highlighted the current artists that I'm working with. And then here's my order form. And it's really nothing crazy. And this was free. So just get a name, email, phone number, their garment types and requirements, everything. And you can do that through Piffy. Anyways, I know this video was kind of a cursory overview on what the business model looks like, um, but I think this is a really great business model for people who are looking to build a business without much overhead. And we're going to continue to keep growing this channel. I appreciate it. I want to keep spreading the knowledge, and I hope you guys enjoy and subscribe and like the video.